This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
U.S. crude stocks and distillate inventories rose while gasoline inventories fell, the Energy Information Administration said on Wednesday. Crude inventories rose by 5.5 million barrels in the week to August 5 to 432 million barrels, compared with analysts' expectations in a Reuters poll for a 73,000-barrel rise. Crude stocks at the Cushing, Oklahoma, delivery hub rose by 723,000 barrels in the last week, EIA said. Refinery crude runs rose by 728,000 barrels per day in the last week, EIA said.
India opened its first factory to produce ethanol from rice straw or stubble on Wednesday as part of measures to reduce its reliance on oil imports and meet its net zero carbon goal. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the project will help cut pollution in India's capital New Delhi, which has been blanketed by smog from stubble burning in recent winters, as well as in the northern states of Haryana and Punjab. India, one of the world's biggest emitter of greenhouse gases, has set a 2070 goal for net zero carbon emissions and has expedited steps to switch to cleaner energy to cut projected emission by 1 billion tons by 2030.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
U.S. crude stocks rose in the most recent week while U.S. production hit its highest level since April 2020, a signal that high prices are driving further output in the world's largest oil producer. Gasoline stocks fell sharply and demand rebounded modestly, though the last 4 weeks of gasoline consumption has been softer than in 2021, the Energy Information Administration said on Wednesday. Crude inventories rose by 5.5 million barrels in the week to August 5 to 432 million barrels, compared with expectations in a Reuters poll for a 73,000-barrel rise.
Indian companies are using Asian currencies more often to pay for Russian coal imports, according to customs documents and industry sources, avoiding the US dollar and cutting the risk of breaching Western sanctions against Moscow. Reuters previously reported on a large Indian coal deal involving the Chinese yuan, but the customs data underline how non-dollar settlements are becoming commonplace. India has aggressively stepped up purchases of Russian oil and coal since the war in Ukraine began, helping to cushion Moscow from the effects of sanctions and allowing New Delhi to secure raw materials at discounts compared to supplies from other countries. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. The European Union and Turkey have agreed the bloc has until January 16 next year to comply with a World Trade Organization, WTO, ruling regarding its safeguard measures designed to curb steel imports, the WTO said on Tuesday. The EU introduced safeguard measures in July 2018 in the form of tariff rate quotas. They allow various grades of steel to come into the bloc free of tariffs up to certain quotas, but any further imports face 25% tariffs. Turkey, which is a major steel exporter to the EU, complained that the EU's measures breached the bloc's commitments to the WTO.
Aluminum and copper prices slipped on Wednesday on worries about declining demand after data from China highlighted a weak construction sector. 3-month aluminum on the London Metal Exchange dropped 0.8% to $2,470 a ton by Wednesday morning. China's factory gate inflation eased to a 17-month low in July, data showed on Wednesday, as a slower domestic construction sector weighed on raw material demand.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Ukraine's grain, oilseed, vegetable oil exports rose 22.7% in July versus June to 2.66 million tons thanks to higher wheat and barley shipments, the Agriculture Ministry said on Wednesday. Ukraine's grain exports have slumped since the start of the war because its Black Sea ports, a key route for shipments, were closed off, driving up global food prices and prompting fears of shortages in Africa and the Middle East. An agreement was concluded last month to unblock Ukrainian seaports and allow the departure of ships carrying grain. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.